Congratulations, you found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music.
YFM.
Listen to YFM 107.9 Accra, 102.5 Kumasi, and 97.9 at Takoradi.
Yeah, so we're moving on straight to business now. From tech giants to banking and finance, creative arts, sports, and governance, the board series has taken its audience across many facets of human endeavor. Today, we host one of the most iconic figures in academia, whose tenure as Vice Chancellor saw sweeping changes in the governance of the university alongside massive infrastructural development and steady growth of the institution as a whole. Back in April 2016, he was appointed by the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and Director General of UNESCO to the Governing Council of the University, United Nations University. In addition, he served as a member of the Board of Global Development Network GDN, New Delhi from 2004 to 2009, and remains a member of the Governing Board for the Center for Development Research, ZEF, at the University of Bonn, Germany. Until April 2019, he was the board chair of Partnership for African Social and Governance Research in Nairobi, Kenya. He has published 3 books, 6 edited volumes, 32 journal articles, and over 100 conference work and discussion papers. Prof. Ernest Aryeetey, Media Pass VC of the University of Ghana, is my guest today on the show. And on behalf of the team, we very much appreciate your presence, sir. Welcome to the Y Leaderboard series. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very, very much for inviting me.
I've been a big fan since my days in uni. I went to the University of Ghana. So before we came into the studio, I told Prof I'm a product of the University of Ghana. He asked which year. Said 2016. So you're part of the fresh people. Prof, it's good to have you here. How are you feeling this morning?
Good. I'm happy to be here.
We are happy to have you here as well. Before we get straight into business, though, we have a team that works with us, and as part of their work, they make sure we surprise our guests. We give them something to hold on to beyond what is going to go online. We give them something they can hold and then feel proud of, remind them basically of their time they spent with us. So I'm going to call in my team from Memories on the Wall. They have a special surprise for Prof. Ernest Aryeetey. Guys, kindly come inside. Great. Get over there for me. Thank you so much. So guys, if you want to find out what is happening right now, get on our Facebook, Y107.9 FM, Instagram, Twitter. We are streaming live. Everything that is happening right here is for you. So kindly get to the microphone. Let me talk to you, madam. What's your name, please?
Hi, Abigail.
Abigail from Memories on My Wall.
Yes, please.
Tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Okay, so we do canvas and glass frames.
Okay.
We do them in different sizes, shapes. It can be split. It can be a collage. We also do photo books and then photo journals.
Great. So what are you here to do today?
So today we decided to surprise an amazing man.
Yes.
So we decided to give him a memory that whenever he sees it, he will know that we love him, we appreciate him for everything.
Wow. So, Prof, that is the it's been unwrapped. All that is for you. It's very beautiful. Wow. That's a beautiful picture of Prof. Especially made for him. Guys, I mean, you might want to join us on Facebook, Y107.9 FM. Get on there and share the video. That is a special picture for Prof by Memories on the Wall. Guys, thank you so much for coming through to surprise us. Prof, one thing again. So, the Prof was voted into office by the Old Achimota Association, OAA, for the 3rd and 2nd year term. The election was held on Sunday at the Achimota School, Agri Chapel, via Zoom. He was also relentlessly championed the cause of putting up the Talo OAA science block on the Achimota School campus and continues to push for various other projects as well as protecting the school land. So, congrats on your new appointment.
Thank you very, very much.
And apparently, this is the first interview you're granting after you were appointed, with the group. Thank you so much. We are so humbled. So let's move on straight to business. Every legend, every great person has their genesis. Today, on behalf of my very many listeners, all my fellow Legonites, the very many Ghanaians who are locked in right now, I want to find out a little bit about your childhood and the kind of family setup you had while growing up.
I'll be 65 years old this year.
Wow.
So slowly I'm growing.
Yes.
I was born in Kumasi.
Okay.
My father lived in Kumasi at the time, in 1955. I was born there. My mother was a private midwife, and my father was a civil servant.
Great.
So in the first few years of my life, I lived in Nkoko.
Okay.
In Nkoko, the Eastern region, where my mother had a clinic, a private midwifery clinic.
Okay.
And at age 8, we then moved to Accra. Okay. And lived at Kolegono. I don't know if you know Kolegono.
That's where Chateau is from.
Yes, precisely. we'll talk about Shatta later.
Okay.
So I spent most of my years growing up at Kolegono.
Wow.
Attended Radiant Tree Preparatory School, which was then at Kolegono. And then from Kolegono went to Achimota.
Wow.
My family was a fairly simple, ordinary civil service family. You know, my father had 15 children.
15 children?
He married 3 times, so
wow.
We were the last set. So the 15 children, there are 9 of us still alive. My oldest brother is 85. My youngest sister turned 60 this year. So it's a fairly regular family. Had a very interesting time growing up in Kolegono. Most of my friends that I play with, or I still remain in contact with, grew up in the same environment.
Okay.
You know, of course, leaving Kolegono and going to school brought new friends to me, but I've always cherished those that I grew up with in those early years. My Kolegono friends are very, very important to me.
Wow.
So that's the kind of environment I grew up in. Yes.
What are some of the fondest memories you have of your childhood? I mean, I love the smile on your face when you mentioned Kolegono.
Oh, yes. You know, even though I grew up not too far from the sea, my father didn't allow us to go to the beach.
Wow.
He wouldn't encourage it. And whenever he found out that we'd gone to the beach, he got very, very upset. I found out later that even though he was a very, very good swimmer, having come from a fishing family, he lost a friend when they were young who drowned in the sea, and then he stopped swimming. And didn't want any of his children to go anywhere near the sea. So even though I grew up in Kolegono, I didn't learn to swim in the sea. Every now and again, I'll go there to the beach with my friends to just look around. We knew it was forbidden to get to the sea. Yeah. Oh, but I enjoyed the life there.
Okay.
I enjoyed the fact that everybody knew me on our street, and I knew everybody. And other parents took interest in what I did. So you didn't have to be my father to tell me off.
Yes.
Anybody at all who was older than me could tell me off, because if I refused to comply with what you were suggesting, you could tell my father, and then
you could be punished.
Precisely. So it was an environment in which everybody was your friend. Every young boy was your brother. Every young woman was your sister. Everybody's father was your father too. It was the kind of environment that today I miss.
Wow.
I miss not knowing very well my neighbors. I miss not knowing very well their children. I miss all those kinds of things. You know, I wish community would be the same as I found it when I was growing up.
A lot of things have actually changed. I mean, these days you can't really go into someone's house and try to iron things in their house. I mean, don't point out things that are not right with them. It looks like everybody is basically minding their own business in their houses.
Yeah.
Were you known as Ernest Aryeetey growing up in Kolegono? Did you have any other name?
I mean, nobody would know Ernest Aryeetey. Well, now, of course, now they see me, so they know who Ernest Aryeetey is, but they didn't know at the time that I was Ernest Aryeetey. Everybody called me Nephew.
Nephew?
Yeah.
So for all the people who know you.
I mean, just Nephew. That was the name, you know. My real name, what you would call a middle name, was Ni Asren Aryeetey.
Okay.
You see? But of course, because my surname was Aryeetey, I didn't want to use Aryeetey as a middle name. So it became Aryeetey.
Okay.
I didn't want that. So my grandfather's name was Nephew, so that's what I was called by.
What kind of students were you in class? I mean, growing up the early stages, basic school throughout, were you the gang leader? Were you the class prefect type? Were you the quiet boy?
No, I was I've always been middle of the road guy.
Okay.
Never the outstanding person, also never the one at the bottom. Just a regular guy.
Okay.
Not the type of person that your teacher will easily select as the class prefect. But I just got along with everybody.
Amazing.
Yes, I remember in school at Radiant Tree, almost everybody was my friend. I don't remember any enemies from those. I don't remember any people I didn't like or who I knew didn't like me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember any. But it was a fairly regular experience.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough to call you the people's person back then, right?
Oh, I guess a regular guy.
Okay. Now, Achimota School and Presec both lay claim to you as one of their own. Could you please settle that debate now? I mean, which of the schools own you?
You know, it's like asking someone to choose between his father and his mother. You can't choose between your father and your mother. Achimota School is my mother, and Presec is my father. And I think between them, they turn me into who I am today.
Okay.
Between them. So you get something from your father and you get something from your mother. I have been often asked to make a choice. And it's extremely difficult. Of course, today, being the OA president, I'm compelled to do a lot more with Achimota and for Achimota by being the OA president. But it doesn't take away from my love for Presec. It doesn't take away my association with my mates from Presec and so on. So I do what I can for both institutions, and they will forever be equally. I always say I'm one of the luckiest Ghanaians. I went to two of the best schools in Ghana.
Yes.
You can't ask for more than that, can you?
You are blessed, honestly. And I mean, just around the corner, you come back and it's the University of Ghana around there. I think that is something we must look into. Almost all my friends that went to Presec ended up in the University of Ghana. And then as friends back in uni, who tease them that you guys don't want to go away. Just around the corner, you crossed the road and then came to the University of Ghana. Prof, let's talk about your ambitions as a child. Growing up, if you quite remember, what career path did you dream of? I mean, which part did you dream of venturing into? What did you want to become?
You know, this is another question I've often struggled to answer, because I don't recall any particular ambitions. All I know is I wanted to go to university. It didn't really matter to me what I was doing at the university. And I also assumed that once you went to university, you did a master's degree after the first degree.
That's true.
So I finished my first degree and immediately began thinking about what I'll be doing for a master's. And then while I did the master's, I thought to myself, why do a master's degree if you wouldn't do a PhD? You know. So my development has not been one that was carefully planned and choreographed. No. It was one of incrementalism. You did something and then you built on it. Precisely, you did something and you built on it. That's how I've always been. I knew that many of my colleagues were aspiring to become doctors or lawyers or engineers. Those were there. I wouldn't have minded becoming a doctor, but it wasn't my dream to be a doctor. I wouldn't have minded becoming a lawyer, but it was certainly not my dream to be a lawyer. I wasn't sure of exactly where I was going to end. I didn't plan to become a professor, but once I became a research fellow at the university, becoming a professor was a natural thing to do.
Exactly. That was the closest.
Precisely. You know.
Beautiful. I mean, a lot of people share the same experience with you. People can't really pinpoint what they want to do. All they know is they want to be the better versions of themselves. So I want to get to this feat. When I get there, it looks like this part is closed. Now let me jump onto that part as well. Let me do the next thing. You obtained your first degree, master's degree and PhD seamlessly within a period of 10 years. I mean, you just mentioned that it's something that was sort of like an incremental experience for you. But you did all these in 10 years. What was motivation behind that? Didn't you have another life on the side?
No, I did it. I mean, it isn't a case of wanting to do it within the shortest possible time. So it happened that the degree was a 3-year program.
Okay.
So I finished the degree. I did my national service. While I was doing my national service, I was looking for various things that I could do. Whether find a job in a bank, find a job in the civil service. At the same time, applying for graduate positions in schools and so on around the world. Before I could comprehend what was happening, I got offered admission to do the masters at KN University. And I said, yeah, let me go and do it. Let me go in. So the offer came after I applied, and I thought it would be worth doing it. It was something that was interesting for me, so I went to do it. And while I was doing it, I saw colleagues applying to schools around the world to do PhD. So let me also apply. I mean, you never know where to take you. And out of that, I got a PhD position, 4 grants to cover it. So I did it. So it's, I've been lucky in so many ways. I mean, there are many people who never did a PhD because they never got a grant to do it. I was lucky to get a grant. I always boast that when I was doing my PhD, I was being paid more than lecturers at the university. You know, so I was lucky in that sense, and because of this good luck, I've been able to do many of things. Of course, when you are lucky, you take full advantage of it. You work hard to justify the confidence others have reposed in you. That's true. So somebody has taken a risk. That this guy, I see him and I think he can do a good PhD. He has potential, Yes, so let me sponsor him to do it. It becomes your responsibility to make sure that he or she doesn't regret the confidence they've reposed in you. That's true. You know, and that has been one thing that has always guided me. When I was doing my PhD, I was determined that in the shortest possible time, I will finish. I was going to linger around and cause financial challenge for other people. You know, within 3 years, I was ready, finished, and then came home.
Wow. Through all these, what kind of support did you get from your family? I mean, obviously you excelled so well in your academics. You were climbing the ladder as planned. I mean, without a plan, but as planned. What kind of support did you get from mom, dad, your siblings? Were you the special one in there?
No, I wasn't the special one, but there was always support. I mean, by the time I went to school, my father was already retired from the service by the time I went to secondary school, and yet he spent a lot of time paying, putting together school fees and so on. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the fact that he devoted some of his pension to paying my way through Achimota School, through Presec. University was free in those days, so he didn't have to. But I got support from my older brothers and cousins, so I was able to go through university without any financial challenges. As I said, for my PhD outside, I got a full grant from the German government, so I was able to do that without any. But so the support that I've received from family has been largely moral support. The family has always been there for me. My mother was so proud of me. She gave me all the support that she could. You know, the love that any mother should be able to give to her children, I got. Wow. So my sisters, my brothers, they were all very supportive. And that has been a very major source of encouragement all these years.
You've been blessed since day one.
Yes.
I mean, beyond all these, I'm sure there must have been a few sacrifices you had to make in order to attain the achievements that you have now. What are some of the things you had to forgo at certain points? I mean, the best students in university, the valedictorians, sometimes have to clear and put aside their friends. Some don't go out to party. I know others who just fast, just so they can build themselves spiritually. I mean, what were some of the sacrifices you had to make?
You know, I'm quite sure if my roommate is listening to me, he'll probably be watching to see whether I will lie or not. You know, I wouldn't claim to have made any major sacrifices. Of course, if you call going to study a sacrifice, maybe, but I did the very normal thing that most young people did. I went out when I had to go. I wasn't a party person. I wasn't the kind of person who liked to go clubbing regularly. No, I wasn't, at least not when I was a university student here. So interestingly, my second year at the university, I used to run the nightclub at Sabah Hall.
You
yes.
run
the
nightclub at Sabah Hall?
Yes, Abuajiwa Disco. I ran it.
What was the name?
Abuajiwa.
Abuajiwa Disco. Wow.
You see, so like you, I was the DJ there.
Yeah.
You see, so I ran it, but I ran it as a business, not for fun.
For fun.
Yeah. And I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. Many of the friends I made at the University of Ghana, they were my customers, you know, and then they became friends.
Wow.
So I'm sure when people look at you, they can't imagine me running the disco. You see?
Would that be your first job?
No. While a student, I used to do what they call vacation employment.
Okay.
So the first ever job that I did that was paid was after sixth form, waiting to go to university. I was at the lands department.
Okay.
I was at the lands department in the evaluation section.
All right.
Yes, that was my first ever job.
Ever paid job.
Yes, and my first salary was 27 cedis.
27 Ghana
27 Ghana cedis, yes, a month. Which was good. I mean,
how long ago was this?
that was 1975.
And that was big money back then.
That was big money. I mean, it took me a whole month to go through. I bought things for my friends.
Wow.
I bought things. Yeah, I mean, that was my first ever job, 27 cedis a month.
Wow.
I'm quite sure if somebody offered you 27 cedis today, for a day, you would.
It wouldn't be enough. Wow.
Yeah. And then in my first year at the university, I worked at the it used to be the statistical service.
Okay.
I worked at statistical service, Ghana Statistical Service. I did it on 2 different occasions. Yes. So even before, I mean, that's how I gained a lot of the experience of the public sector.
Exactly.
Yes.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about your family. Tell us the kind of family you have now. You've told us the kind of family you came from. How is your family now? The one you own, your family, the one you're from.
Yeah. Okay, so I came back to Ghana from my studying abroad in 1986.
Okay.
And 2 years later, in 1988, I got married to Ellen Boteduku.
Okay.
So that's how I started my married life. And Ellen was my colleague at the university. We met at the university. We worked at the same place. And so we've been together since then. Have 2 children, Niyama and Nadede.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are a very regular family. Niyama is 40 years old. And has his own family, has his own 2 sons. Okay. So these are my grandchildren, 2 lovely boys. Nadede is still in school. And so, yes. And I have several nephews and nieces. Yes, precisely. It's again a very normal relationship that I have with my family, my siblings. We get together as often as we can, and we sort of try to support each other. Yes.
Great. Now, how comparatively different is running a family to that of, let's say, running a university, or are they similar in some aspects?
No, they are different. When you're running a family, there's a lot of emotion attached. These are people who are very much a part of your life, and you are a part of their lives. So what you do with each other is measured in terms of how much emotion is invested in it. When you run a university or you run an institution, there are times when you go to take out the emotion and do run it like a business. It's a business that must yield outcomes for various stakeholders. Apart from yourself,
yes.
There are other stakeholders. So you approach the university that way. It's an enterprise that is looking for particular results. In a family, you're not looking for particular results. You are interested in an outcome that is emotionally charged.
Wow. That's a lot. I think, Uncle Ken, we've picked a lot from this particular one, right? We're still trying to run the family business. Prof, your area of specialization is development economics. Tell us at what particular point your career took off. I mean, you've told us your first experience with work, your first job, your first on-the-side job, the club business that you ran, but at what point did your career take off officially?
So when I finished my PhD, I applied to University of Ghana. So of course the issue question of how did I get into economics?
Yes.
I got into economics. When I was coming to Legon from Presec, I was offered 6 different subjects.
Wow.
I was offered 6 different subjects. And I chose economics, political science, and statistics. I chose these out of the 6. Now, after the first year, I decided to drop political science.
Wow.
So I went into the second year with economics and statistics, and then decided to finish with economics. So I have a degree in economics with statistics.
Wow.
Once I did the economics degree, it became obvious to me that one has to use it to solve the relevant problems, development problems of Ghana. You can't be in a developing country like Ghana and do esoteric stuff.
That's true.
You got to make yourself relevant. So I started planning in Kumasi. Basically, how do you plan an economy? That's what I was interested in. And then in my PhD, I focused on the political economy aspects.
Okay.
So the challenge for me has always been, how do I apply my economics to solving the problems of my community? How do I apply my economics to solving the problems of my community? If you take a place like Ghana, the biggest challenge that we face is mass poverty.
That's true.
And significant inequality. So it doesn't make sense to me that you can practice economics in Ghana and not see the poverty or not work towards the removal of the poverty.
Yes.
So most of what I've done is devoted to dealing with the structural issues, the things that make people poor, the things that make the structure of the economy remain the way it is. How do you remove them? It's a big thing. It's a very, very big problem, but has to be tackled. So that's what I've committed myself to.
And that is what definitely pushed you into getting into
Precisely. That's what put me there. I look around me today, what I see is many young people who are unemployed, and I think that what we should be focused on is how to use economics to deal with the poverty, to deal with unemployment, and thereby deal with the inequality that is consuming our system here.
Basically, so lifting the knowledge from economics to solving the social issues. Wow. One thing I must say, though, when you mentioned that you grew up in Kumasi, a part of my brain lit up because that's where I grew up. I also got to the University of Ghana not so many years ago, and I was offered 3 subjects: economics, political science, and geography. And then I had to drop JOG and pursued economics and political science. So I also have a combined degree in economics and political science. And just like you, I'm also working towards solving social issues in my own sector. So that's a good thing. I mean, I commend you on that. Now, most of your research work, as you mentioned, focuses on economics of development with interest in institutions and their role in development. I mean, through all this, what in your opinion has been the biggest challenge in our quest to build strong institutions, and what accounts for these challenges?
Yeah, that's a very big question and a very important one. In my view, we haven't invested adequately in building strong institutions. Remember when Obama came here, he said we need strong institutions, not strong men.
Not strong men.
He was perfectly right. We haven't built adequately to build those strong institutions. We thought in Ghana that by simply having a good president, then everything will be fine. A good president cannot make everything fine if he or she does not devote enough time and energy on building strong institutions. So whether it's banking or the judiciary or the civil service or the universities, you've got to have strong, effective institutions. I don't believe that we've invested adequately in them. We do have today the semblance of a democracy. We vote for people to go to parliament, we vote for people to run our nation, and so on. But we don't pay enough attention to developing the institutions that will make the aspirations come true. We haven't done that. And if I say we haven't done that, let me give you an example of what I mean by we haven't done that. We have a parliament.
Yes.
You would expect Parliament to commit itself to making laws that clearly will bring about change.
Change, yes.
I don't see that. Because almost every law that we make is motivated by some political interest and not the development interest. It's all about politics. And that is what, in my view, has been a major reason for our inability to make our institutions strong. Whether it's in the civil service, whether it's in the military, in the police, in the judiciary, in the universities, we haven't paid enough attention to having strong institutions. When I say a strong institution, I don't mean a bully running the institution. I mean an institution that is able to develop a strong, a worthy plan of how it's going to engage, and is able to mobilize the resources for bringing about that change, and then actually go out to do everything possible to make those things happen. You know, we build hospitals and leave them to rot because we didn't think about what resources would be used to run them. So in the political mind, building hospitals is good because it will bring votes. It's a good thing to bring votes, and then you move on. After you build them, you got the votes. You move on. You don't think about how to be sustained. How to be sustained means people have to pay taxes, but you're afraid of charging them taxes, so you leave that, and the hospital rots. That's how we build institutions, because we fear to do the right thing at the right time.
So basically, we work to fail.
Precisely. We will build roads. We will build hospitals. We will build schools. We will build factories. But unless we think long term, unless we think about what will happen to this factory in 10 years, what will happen to this new hospital in 10 years, and provide for it, have an institution that takes care of it.
Yes.
It will go down, and the next person that will come will also be thinking about the votes, and so we'll build more new hospitals, more new factories. And so long as our approach to building institutions is like that, we are not going anywhere. That's what my research tells me.
Now, among your publications, one of the things I came up with is financial integration and development in sub-Saharan Africa and economic reforms in Ghana, of course, which you just touched on, which has gone through many facets of such reforms. In your opinion, what has been the cause of the failure of most of these reforms? I mean, after the awareness has been created, things are changed. Why does it fail then? Because I realize we find that these things are not right, and then a lot of research is put into ensuring we reform them. After we reform them, naturally we would expect things to move. Why do they fail?
It's linked to what I said previously. Most of our views about development are short-term.
Okay.
we have a short-term horizon. This is not peculiar to Ghana. It's in most African countries. Yeah. So long as you think short-term, every decision that you take has risks embedded in it.
That's true.
And you are thinking about how to minimize the risk. And in so doing, you focus on yourself and your small group of backers. When you think short-term, then you're not going to think about transformation. Your short-term things bring relief to people. So if you come and fix the roads in my area, it will bring relief to me, and I'll be very happy short-term. There's no guarantee that when those roads develop potholes in 5 years' time, you will come back and do them. Maybe it will take 10 years before you come back. But because of our very short-term approach to dealing with policy matters, we always end up not finding the way to trigger transformation, change that is sustainable, the change that will sustain itself. Over time, we don't approach things that way. We build roads, but we don't manage the roads.
That's true.
If you look at Accra, traffic is heavy in many, many places. Not because we don't have enough roads, because we don't manage the roads. We don't manage the traffic. We have roads. We spend money to construct a 6-lane road, and yet nobody is interested in managing it. So you don't put road signs there. You put traffic lights up because people are asking for it, and they demand it, and it looks nice, so you put it there, but you don't even invest in maintaining it. And so most of the things that we do have no long-term impact. That's the challenge we face.
That's the challenge. Now, Prof, I'm sure all these findings came out of, a book I read from you. It's called The Economy of Ghana, 60 Years After Independence. It was published by Oxford University Press in 2017. Aside these things that you just talked about, what are some of the key findings that were highlighted in the book, and the role you intend for it to play? The findings were meant to play a role in our national discourse. What were some of the other findings, and then what was the intention behind these things?
Yeah, thank you very much. So at the time we conceived for that book, Ghana was about to celebrate 60 years of independence. And we thought, well, if Ghana had been a regular person, he or she would have been retiring at 60. And when you are retiring after many years of work, you look back and say, what have I achieved? So it was a good point to reflect on Ghana's achievements. There were many things that Ghana had achieved in terms of the economy, but it was also obvious that many of the hopes and aspirations that were around at the time of independence had not been realized. And so we needed to sort of document all these things. So the book covers every sector. It covers the macroeconomy. What we do is document using the different authors. We document the experience and then try to find out if things have not worked the way we intended. What happened? What was behind it? So when we discuss agriculture, for example, the book documents the different policies that we've pursued. It documents the different interventions that we've tried to put in place over the 60 years. And it records the failure to achieve the expected results and outcomes, and try to provide explanations, and learning from other things, provide suggestions about how to tackle, whether it's agriculture, industry, the external trade sector, social services, and so on. So for all of these, we have an analysis of what has happened over a 60-year period, the key actors involved, what sort of thinking went into it. So one of the things I learned from reading all the different chapters that came out was that Ghana has never been it isn't an economy or a society that is completely bereft of ideas. There have always been very laudable ideas about how to bring change. The problem has always been when it comes to interpreting those ideas and putting them into policy actions. That's where the failure has often been. And that comes back to the institutional thing. So you know what you want to do. Building an institution that will allow you to do it calls for sacrifice. It calls for big investment, and we have not been willing to make those sacrifices. We have not been willing to make those sacrifices. That's the challenge. I learned a lot from all the contributors to that book, having specialized in those areas that they focused on.
Wow. We have great news, though. We are number one on Twitter. The conversation is everywhere. People are joining. People are actually enjoying the conversation. Now, Prof, one of the things I wanted to ask in relation to the question you asked before, the answer you gave me before, about the problems that we face. I mean, you touched on the fact that a lot of our plans and policies are politics influenced or politically influenced, so much that it doesn't really look at maintaining the plans that we put in place, but rather just fixing them and then moving on to the next. In terms of infrastructure, all right, we've seen a lot of development here in Ghana, I mean, since independence, but do you think we need a national agenda? There should be a national policy in dealing with these short-term approaches by successive governments, so much that whether you come in with your plans or not, there are things you must maintain and try to sustain?
Yeah, we've had that argument for over 30 years. When Ghana was struggling with civilian rule, military rule, coming back to civilian, going back to military, and so on, we used to have those discussions and debates. I am quite certain that what I've said today is not new. It's not unknown to people my age, or even So it is something that has been there all these years. Having a new national agenda is not necessarily going to solve the problem unless we are committed to making a change. Back in the 90s, you'll be there and you'll be invited to a national economic forum where supposedly we could all come and talk about how we wanted the economy to be managed, and then we'll talk and we'll talk and we'll talk, and these will lead to some resolution and so on. Many of the things that went into the reforms came from those kinds of discussions, and yet we never managed to follow to the letter the things that we all had agreed, because after you agreed, the person or persons supposed to be implementing what you've agreed is going to remember, hey, after we've done this, will I still be in power? After we've done this, will my party still get the votes? After we've done this, what will it do to my own earnings and so on? So, in the implementation, there's always been some modification that was never discussed. So that's how I look at these attempts to have a national agenda. It calls for people who are committed to make a difference. It calls for people who are willing, after we've all talked, to say, okay, let us do this. And it calls for a nation that is willing to make people accountable.
That's the word.
So accountable. So we all met at Akosombo and we all agreed to do this. And we gave you the responsibility of doing it. Why did you change it without our permission? So we hold you accountable, but we don't. We don't.
Wow.
Because a political party has been given the authority to do things.
The mandate.
And it says that the only thing that counts is its manifesto. And that is, we didn't buy into a manifesto. The fact that we voted for you didn't mean that we bought into a manifesto. You see? And we need to go beyond that. We need to go beyond, yes, you have a manifesto, we voted for you. It doesn't mean that we have lost our rights to compel you to do other things. We need courage. We need courage to hold our governments accountable.
Very, very important, bulletin there. Having done extensive research on informal finance and microfinance in Africa, tell us what may have accounted for the unfortunate situation with the microfinance space in Ghana and your take on measures taken by the central bank to sanitize the sector.
It was always obvious that the regulatory regime for many of those new institutions was inadequate. Back in the 80s, when I was very active in research, back in the 80s when we were promoting microfinance, informal finance, when I had all of these friends, tissue collectors, and we're doing research with them, it was always obvious that we would need a strong regulatory regime for that. Bank of Ghana was not prepared for that.
Okay.
We used to have discussions with them. We used to engage with NGOs. There were World Bank projects that we pushed that supported the discussion of what regulatory regime would be most appropriate. I saw with time, as the new institutions came on board, a confusion of what regulatory measures would be appropriate, would be supportive, a closure on the discussion. I mean, no longer a wider discussion.
That's true.
But the interest groups that took over the system came and put in place their own arrangements. As the numbers grew with poor regulation, as the numbers grew with extremely poor supervision, as the numbers grew with extremely poor or bad governance, it was inevitable that we were going to get what we got. It was only a matter of time. So I would imagine that the best lesson that we would retrieve from this current mess is a new regime for regulating them. It doesn't have to be Bank of Ghana. If it's Bank of Ghana that wants to regulate them, it has to properly equip itself for it. At that point, we knew 20 years ago. We knew that we wrote about it. So it didn't happen. If we want to do it, let's equip Bank of Ghana to do it properly. If not, let's find an appropriate institution for doing it. And you've got to supervise them regularly. The governance has to be one that is clearly supportive, one that can more or less prepare and hold them to account.
Accountability, people not leaving their job, proper regulation, proper supervision. I think these things will work. Prof, I have a surprise for you. Kindly wear the headphone for me before we move on. I have someone on the line that wants to talk to you. Great. All right. Hello? Good morning, Auntie.
Good morning.
All right, so Prof is listening. Kindly mention your name, and then let's move on.
Ellen Botti.
Prof, that is Professor Ellen Botti, Mama on the line.
Yes.
Auntie,
big surprise.
Tell us a little bit about Prof. We know him as the VC. We know him as the legend. At home, who is he? He told us how he relates to his family and that, but I think you are the best person to tell us the kind of person he is off the screens, off the office.
Well, I think you must have guessed by now that he doesn't mince his words when it comes to expressing himself. He's a kind-hearted, fun person, really. And I think, on the whole, he's very easy to get along with.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does he do for fun?
What does he do for fun?
Yes.
He loves to have his family and friends around him.
Okay.
So every opportunity that he gets, he will gather people around, his schoolmates, his family, his in-laws, and he loves to debate. And so we normally have a very lively conversation going on those occasions. Yes, I think you are taking a bit of that from the discussion. I listened to a bit of it.
Okay.
That can be a very, very approachable person.
Yes, that's true.
You might also probably say that he doesn't suffer fools, if I can say that. But he can be very fair.
Okay.
And at the same time, very, in my view, quite kind and generous person.
Wow. Kind words. Mommy, tell us. Okay, well, this one should go to Prof direct. Are there any special words you'd like to tell him today? Listening to how he shared his life story with us, do you have any special words for him on here?
Well, I'll just say to him that he should continue fighting for the causes that he is committed to. He's very passionate about his causes. And I just like to say that we all admire him for staying the course with the issues that matter to him. Yeah, I'm personally often touched by his kindness, really, and ability to forgive, even when you think he's not in the mood for those kinds of discussions about letting things go. Sometimes he'll surprise you by letting things go. And I think generally he's been blessed. He's been blessed, and we as a family, I like to say, have been blessed to have him.
Wow.
So I'd just like him to continue. He's currently managing research in quite a number of universities. It's a very taxing job, and yet he finds time to do a lot of social responsibility activities for his old school, for his friends, his family. Generally a very enjoyable person to be around.
Wow. Thank you so much, Prof. Ellen Bote Doku Aryeetey, Mama of the house. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Prof is quiet. Prof is quiet right now. Prof was saying a lot before the call came in, but it looks like...
Oh, no, I'm answering your questions.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Ellen.
You're welcome.
All right. That was Professor Ellen Bote Doku Aryeetey, wife of Prof. Ernest Aryeetey. We're gonna go back to the conversation now, Prof. I'm sure you heard the words. I mean, you have been a blessing, and a blessing not only to the family but the entire nation. And Auntie Ellen wants you to keep fighting for the causes that you're fighting for passionately. We believe in your commitment to achieving all these things that you talk about. We definitely believe in that, and we hope that by the end of the interview, a lot more people will be inspired to get on the wagon. The fight is bigger than all of us, but together we can all fight it. 2 minutes to the top of the hour. We are still on Why Leaderboard Series, # Why Leaderboard Series. Make sure you join in the conversation. We are currently #1 on Twitter. Yes, now I think Facebook is doing the same job as well. Back to the talk. Now, according to Justice Prof. Dateba, then chairman of the University Council, you were chosen as VC because of your vision for the university. Tell us what the vision was, were they achieved, and how you were able to achieve them.
That's a loaded question. When I applied for the position of Vice Chancellor, I said that it was my desire that the University of Ghana would seek to become a world-class university. And I gave a very simple definition of what I meant by a world-class university. I was talking about the kind of research that we would do. I was talking about the things our students will be able to accomplish after they left the university. I was talking about how we governed ourselves. So there were 7 things that I put out that they will be the areas that I'll be focusing on. But the mantra became making Legon a world-class university. Now, it was easy to make that case, even though there were a number of people who were very skeptical about the possibility. I was extremely lucky that the University Council bought the idea. They bought, because many of the things that I was proposing were basically matter of the fact things that you had to do if you wanted to be a well-functioning university. So yes, I talked about the need for us to devote more resources to research. I talked about the need to turn Legon into a research-intensive university, and they liked it. And I said to them, it meant we have to put a lot of money into research.
That's true.
And we have to pay more attention to graduate training. People doing master's degrees and people doing PhDs and so on. You can't be a world-class university if everything you did was about undergraduate teaching. And so there were things that we needed to. Of course, we needed the infrastructure. We needed the infrastructure to allow us to do what world-class universities do. We wanted to be a university where people from outside of Ghana, whether students or faculty, would want to come to. International students, international faculty will come and spend time and go away. We wanted to be a place where if I was a student in North Carolina thinking about spending time in Africa, that Legon would be the first place that I choose. That's how world-class. So around the world, being international around universities is what has been the norm in the last 2 decades. We were nowhere near that. We were not doing that. So I said to Legon, let us pursue that. And the council bought into it, provided full support for that endeavor. And I'm very happy with the things that we achieved with it. I had said in my induction speech that Legon would be ranked higher. And it was my hope that before I ended my term, we would be ranked among the top 10 universities in Africa. And I was extremely happy when at the time I was leaving that Legon, months before I left office, Legon was ranked 7th in the whole of Africa. So yes, I came in with a lot of ideas, and I left very happily.
Most of the current massive infrastructural development on campus, Legon, are attributed to you. I mean, the Legon roads are tarred and pleasant to drive on now, but also it came with its own challenges. Which of them was the most challenging, and how did you surmount such challenges? I mean, when you wanted to implement all these changes, you must have faced a few challenges. Let's point out a few of them, and then which of them was the biggest, and how you got over it.
I decided from the beginning, let's do first things first. Let's focus on students. So the first challenge that needed to be tackled was accommodation for students, and then lecture rooms and laboratories and so on. We needed to improve on the infrastructure. In my first few weeks in office, after listening to students when they are conversations on the Radio Universe about accommodation and all that, I paid a visit to Legon Hall, the main hall. I went into a male room and I went into a female room. I was horrified with what I saw. I was horrified that when we were students, there were 2 of us in these rooms. And by the time I went there were 9 people. I found a bunk bed with a lady lying on top of her, on the top, and then her suitcase by her side. So there was no space for the suitcase. So she and the suitcase shared the bunk bed.
Wow.
It was an environment that was, to say the least, extremely unhygienic. And I was wondering, why do students tolerate this? Why are students ready to stay in these unhygienic conditions. And of course, it was because they didn't want to pay anything for it. How are we going to, as a university, improve the living conditions of our students? It couldn't be done for free. So we needed to negotiate with these students that we will borrow money, we will fix the halls, and then we will charge you something extra for doing that. The students, of course, to be expected, were adamant that yes, you can fix the halls if you want to. We're not going to pay extra. So these are some of the challenges. There were massive demonstrations against increases. It sometimes became very difficult to do, but I'm very happy that we were able to survive. And today, when I listen to students, I'm sure I don't know if you went through that. When I listened to the students that were in Legon at my time,
I was there.
They were happy with the result. They were skeptical about the program from the beginning, but when it happened and they came and there were 2 of them in a room or 3 or 4, it was far better than what they had come to meet. So what did it take? We just borrowed 4 million cedis from Ghana Commercial Bank. Within 3 years, we had paid it back, and everything was fine. It told me that if you want to solve a problem, you can solve it. The labs were in a completely poor state. Students couldn't do practical. They were doing science, but they couldn't do practical because there was no equipment. We borrowed $2.5 million and bought equipment for the science units of the university. 2 years later, we borrowed $5 million to buy similar, better equipment for the same units. And we've paid back all of these things. We paid back before I left office. So it tells me, or it told me at the time, that with the right approach, you can do things. And when it came to the roads, for example, they were in a bad state. Legal potholes were
deplorable state.
Yeah, I mean the road from the law school today to the TF was completely, quite a dead road. During the rainy season, completely.
It was bad.
We had to do them. We got a contractor to come and estimate for us how much it would take to fix all of these things. We learned it would cost us 8 million cedis in those days. 8 million cedis, that was a lot of money. Everybody was worried that we wouldn't be able to find the resource. The government was not going to give us that money. And no bank will lend us money. And I said, no bank will lend us money if we don't have a payment plan.
Yes, if you don't have that.
So how are we going to do it? And I said, the users have to pay for them. The users have to pay for these roads, which was the kind of principle that we have used for the Tema motorway. What stopped us from applying the same principle to roads at the university? In most universities around the world, students pay for parking. Staff pay for parking. So the universities invest in parking facilities, and they make an awful lot of money that is used to maintain the infrastructure. If we are going to be world-class, we've got to think like other world-class universities. That's how the concept of tolling the roads came out. And now, we of course, everybody knows what happened.
So for the records, the tolls were not put up because you wanted to protect the students, but because the users had to pay for the money that was taken to fix the roads.
There were 2 things that motivated us.
Okay.
We wanted to have, apart from the roads being bad, in fact, the roads were bad because of overuse.
Overuse, yes.
Many people going to work from West Legon drove through Legon.
Yes, plow that road.
Going from East Legon to West Legon drove through Legon. Going to Medina, precisely. So we wanted to restrict the numbers of people driving through.
Okay.
And Ghanaians don't like paying money for anything. So we thought once we brought the payment system, many of them will stop coming, which is fine. And also, if those who come will help us maintain these roads. So that's, one of the funny things about all of this was I went to the government of Ghana I spoke to them about, look, we are going to do these things and we're going to judge it. So when we start doing this, there will be a lot of backlash. People will be talking and so on. Just keep quiet. You don't do anything about it. Everything will be fine. Typical politicians, as soon as we started, people were crying. They panicked and then they stepped in and stopped.
Apparently there was a demolition at a point.
Right, sure, yes.
I mean, what was your response to that when it happened? Because we all didn't expect that.
Yeah, we did it. It was a very barbaric act. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We expressed our concerns to the government. The Chancellor of the university wrote to the government to protest. We tried to revive that project. Again, it was destroyed. But we didn't stop there. We in the end, it wasn't meant to be a toll booth. It was meant to be the entrance, a proper entrance to the university, as most universities do have. So it took a bit of time for the government to understand that it wasn't simply a toll booth. It was a facility that was a part of the infrastructure development of the university.
So all these were basically a part of the developmental plan when you came up. You just had to apply it any means possible, regardless, because then a lot of sacrifices had to go in there. If you had looked at the amount of money you were going in for and the payment plan, had it not been the initial plan that you had, maybe you would have been discouraged to do it. And Legon wouldn't be the Legon it is now.
Precisely. I mean, the same thing with the hospital. I mean, the hospital was our idea. The hospital was something that the university wanted very badly to do. The idea was to enhance medical, the education of health professionals. So we always wanted this modern hospital that would do that. We approached the government of Ghana. The president of Ghana at the time was extremely supportive of it. And that's how the hospital came there. The hospital was meant to transform medical education. It was meant to complement what we had at Kolebu. So the hospital didn't just get up and come there. It was the result of a request that you made to government, yes.
And of course, I mean, we touched on the fact that you wanted to transform Legon into a world-class university. Many of the big universities around the world have their own hospitals. I mean, today, thanks to the Johns Hopkins University in America, we're getting a lot of research information on COVID-19. I mean, I think it was just a step in the right direction. Just that every change attracts a lot of reaction. But I mean, now I'm sure people will look back and salute you for
we deliberately put the hospital where it is now, close to Noguchi. So the research element in whatever was being done will be strengthened. So Noguchi researchers will have access to a clinical environment. The clinical staff will have access to the Noguchi researchers. They'll be working together. And I'm quite sure that if things had gone according to the plan, the crisis that today we have with COVID-19 would have been a lot more easily contained. There would have been Ghanaian researchers telling the world about how to deal with things. Yes. There would have been more opportunity. One of the things I was very, very interested in as a Vice Chancellor was supporting our researchers to develop a vaccine for malaria. It's something that I do hope one day we'll be able to achieve. But it's something very doable, very, very doable, easily.
I think I've spent a few minutes with you, but one of the things that I picked from you, everything is doable. Provided you're ready to make the sacrifices.
Precisely, There's no change you are going to make that will have no costs attached. Every change will have costs and risks involved. And so you manage them. You manage, so you put your mind to managing those risks.
Wow. Now, so some of the alumni of the University of Ghana claim you, quote and unquote, suck the fun out of the university. In fact, I remember when we announced that you were the next leader on the leaderboard series, among all the positives we had, the following things, two things came up. people attributed these things to you as VC. I mean, whole week activities ending at 12, as to, previously being non-stop. I mean, being non-stop around some of the universities, KNUSC and the likes would just go on till morning, and then activities on the Saba field, the very famous Saba field, being halted at 10 p.m. Can you share the intent of these or behind these policies with us? You just explained why the toll booth system came about as being a part of the sources, of funding for the road projects that you did on campus. I mean, what were the intentions behind these two? The Saba field time and then the entertainment bits. I'm very interested in that because
I am more interested in the Saba field. Okay. I remember that one a lot more clearly. The whole week one, I'm not sure. I think I'll get to it. I was amazed at how regularly, every evening, large numbers of students congregated on the Saba field. I don't know if your audience appreciates where the Saba field is, behind Legon Hall Annex B, and then behind it was in a corner between Legon Hall and then Saba main hall,
right opposite the guest house.
Precisely, and supposed to be praying, and they would go on and on. It would start around 6 p.m. And then go on and on and on past midnight. You had the guest center right across them, where university guests will come and will be staying.
Faculty.
And they can't sleep. They can't sleep because, if we walked around there, it was like bees humming. Just imagine that you are lying in your bed, you go to a hotel, you're lying in bed, and bees humming behind your window all night in the name of prayer. And you will talk to the students that, okay, why don't you stop early now so that people can sleep? And they will say, yes, we will do it. And yet they wouldn't do it. It became a problem. And I used to wonder, what kind of Christians are these? I'm a Christian also.
Yes, I was going to ask that.
I'm a Christian and I pray. But when my prayer is disturbing my neighbor, I don't expect God to be happy with me.
That's true.
Because I am denying somebody sleep in the name of prayer. And I think it's something that we Christians have to wake up to. We should not use our Christianity to inconvenience other people. And I thought as a university, we should set a good example of showing Christians and showing people in general that you don't use religion to oppress people. That's why the whole week, when I'm not sure of the details, but I know that when I was a student, we had whole week, and the activities stretched through the week. But we didn't cause commotion around the campus all week. The highlight of it will be on Friday afternoon and then Saturday. And the only thing that had noise making around it was the hall dance on a Saturday night, precisely. By the time I came out to Lagos, things had changed.
Wow.
And so from you will be in the lecture rooms Monday morning, and you will hear music from some hall, throughout the week. Which academic environment can sustain that?
Prof, in our defense, this was just a whole week, just 1 week in the whole year.
Yeah, but you finish yours, and then another hall
will continue
starts.
theirs.
So throughout the semester, there's every other week such activity. And we are sitting there wondering why we are not doing well. We are sitting there wondering why we are not publishing. We are sitting there wondering why the university stopped producing the type of graduates, because our graduates have been consumed by whole week.
One of the things that was widely debated on while I was in school was a 10 p.m.
I'm not sure that we actually put a 10 p.m. curfew. I'm not sure. I don't know.
It was latest 12. I think that was championed by the Dean of Students, of course, with the directive coming from the top. That was what we were told back then.
Okay, I take responsibility.
So it's sort of like, so now things are changing. changing? I mean, you mentioned that your time, things were quite subtle. These days, due to technology and, I mean, the growth of our creative arts industry.
We can do a Zoom party.
I mean, people can go beyond 10. So far as, I mean, we have the very responsible Aryeetey police. It's funny enough, you've been gone for a while, but they are still called Aryeetey police.
I see.
You know, they really implemented it. I mean, we felt we were safe enough to just go beyond. But we do 12. Other universities were doing
I know that most of you traveled. Did you see any university, where you went, Europe or America or elsewhere in Africa, where students jammed from Monday to Saturday? And then on Sunday they went to pray noisily.
Well, we leave the rest to our listeners. 0202222073 is the official WhatsApp line. Before we move on, we have another surprise on the line. Prof, kindly wear your headphone for me. This man has known you for a long time. He's been a close buddy to you. I mean, I'm just going to introduce him. No, I'll just allow him to introduce himself. Sir. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for speaking to us. Prof is listening.
Good morning, Prof. Aryeetey, this is Edmond Combat.
Hey, anyway. That's a big surprise.
Yes.
Prof, it's good to hear you. I've been listening to you.
Thank you.
And I am so proud of you. When they called me yesterday, I was telling them that when you came to office, we started off as enemies. And I mean, I, together with two other colleagues, led 2 demonstrations against Prof at the time when they were doing the decongestions and other policies that he had brought to be implemented. So it was so cantankerous from Commonwealth Hall at the time, and then subsequently I was elected as SRC president. When I went for my first meeting with him, I went there with red eyes, expecting that this man doesn't, he doesn't listen to anybody, this and this. And when I got into the meeting with my colleagues, at the end of the meeting, I was very surprised. I was like, is this the man that we have been told things and that and all of that about? I said, okay, maybe it's the first meeting, so let's do the second one. So we did the second one, and completely, my orientation towards him changed. I realized that what he wanted was for the university to progress, and he wanted the welfare of students. And already you've mentioned a lot of the things that he did in the university, but let me just mention 2 things. There was one that, there was this system that the university had adopted because they were structuring the academic curriculum. The students were complaining. So we went to him and we said, Prof, this is what is happening now. And there is agitation. And he said, oh, this is not an issue. You people should go and put your grievances on a paper and explain reasons why and bring it. So we did that, and we sent it back to him. And then he formed a committee, which was chaired by, I think, Professor Sidu or so.
Yes.
And then they looked at it, looked at our consideration, looked at the university's perspective, and came up with something that was mutually beneficial. And students were very happy. There was another thing the SRC was doing about, we needed to get some buses and also do some scholarship scheme. He supported us full time. And we enjoyed our relationship with him. Students were happy. There was peace and harmony because there was now clear understanding. And I realized that one of the major problems when he first came was communication between the university management and the student leadership. I think either the university management did not get directly to the students, and some of the student leaders were not too honest with students as to the meetings that they had. So when we came in, I think that was removed, and we had a very good relationship. After us, I think the university had quite a lot of peace until now. I mean, occasionally, obviously, there's some few things, but I think that Prof's time actually defined the relationship between the university management and student leadership. And it's been beneficial. The work that he did is evidential. Everybody can see the rules, the infrastructure. When he came, the University of Ghana was ranked in Africa 21.
Yes.
It came down to 15. By the time he was leaving, it was 7.
Yes.
That is massive. And it's based on the leadership he demonstrated.
Edmond, it's been 7 years since you left office. I mean, SRC president's office. You look back and realizing all the good things that have happened to the University of Ghana. Do you regret your actions towards him when you got into office? I mean, the demonstrations that you led against him and all that.
Oh yeah, the demonstrations we led against him were things that it was based on misinformation. Okay. So obviously it's something that I don't think any of us would be proud of. But I think it's also a lesson for everyone going forward in terms of management and student leadership, that there is better, it's always good for a good engagement to understand each other's perspective.
That's true. And
if that had really happened, maybe what we did wouldn't have happened. But I think it's also good because it gave me a totally different perspective after I came into office, and I realized that, and he himself realized that what we did was because of misinformation. It was not that we were just some bunch of criminals who wanted to make noise, and he's been very, very helpful, and it's something that we have to commend him of. And I believe that he still has a lot to offer Ghana.
Most definitely.
And I just pray that he gets better opportunities.
Most definitely.
So that the blessings God has given him can benefit the country.
Thank you so much, Edmond, for taking time off your busy schedule to talk to us. Prof.
Edmond, thank you very, very, very much. I appreciate it. I always use you as an example how the youth can engage with the older people and learn things that are meaningful. I appreciate what I learned from you. I appreciate the fact that we were able to engage at the meetings of the council, and I do hope that whatever you are doing now, you are able to apply them in a manner that will bring glory to both you, your parents, and then to your employers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Same to you. Thank you.
So that was Edmond Combat's SRC president 2012-2013. So that was when I got to my first year. Edmond was my SRC president. Yes.
Oh, okay.
He never used to play. I remember during the demonstration time. I think that was the time I had a personal encounter with him. I was friends with a few guys at Kwapon, and one time he called us to come in. That was at the African Union also. I mean, the various groups in there had to meet up with him and then talk to him on how to move forward with our issues. And that he did a good job. And I mean, it's good to know that someone like this took inspiration from you. Moving on, some have suggested that there had been an attempt to erase your legacy as one of the best VCs ever to have occupied that office. Do you agree with that assertion? And do you think there was an attempt to tarnish your reputation with respect to the African Integrity Project?
I don't want to dwell on it. I don't want to dwell on it. I mean, I have people like Edmond Combat who would tell you what happened. So I don't think, I'm not worried at all about my legacy. I'm not worried at all. So the African Integration was conceived in a very open manner. It wasn't a personal project. It was a project that involved everybody at the university. We even had convocation to discuss it. So the misrepresentation that has characterized it is clearly regrettable. But I don't want to dwell on that. Who wants to erase my legacy? I mean, it's for people like you to
research on.
Precisely.
No problem, sir. Now, you touched on a very important thing, in the middle of that interview, the fact that you had a vision of transforming the University of Ghana into a world-class institution. In your opinion, all right, how much of the vision do you feel was achieved on a scale of 1 to 100 or 0 to 100? Percentage-wise, how much of that vision was achieved before you left office?
No, as I said earlier, I left office very happily. Many of the things that I thought we should do, we did. Yes. So one of the things I'm most proud of is the number of young people that we managed to get to go and do PhD and come back and teach at the university. I was amazed that by the time I came into office, only about 45% of the lecturers had PhD. By the time I was leaving, we were close to 70%. And it was due to pressure that we had given that had made it possible. Today, I am doing the same thing at a different level. I'm working with the African Research Universities Alliance. And many of the things that I do for these 16 universities are the things that I was trying to do at Lagos. We've all agreed among the 16 universities that by the end of 2022, about 75% of all lecturers in our universities should have PhD. You know, so it isn't simply a Ghanaian thing. It's the norm around the world. So you do it. Today, when I hear people debate whether it's necessary, whether it's a requirement, I laugh, largely because whether you like it or not,
it's a part of it.
That's how the world is going. You know, that's how the world is going. And it's important that we support these kinds of things. Many of the things that I sought to bring to Lagos were not simply out of ego, but the simply things I observed around the world. Whenever I traveled to other places and I saw them doing it, I questioned it and I looked at the impact, the effects on their own development. On them. If it was good, why not? You know. So I'm very, very happy with the outcomes, and I do hope that we can, with the new arrangements that I'm involved with, be able to spread it to other universities.
My team members still want us to do a percentage ranking on that. So let's say Prof is marking himself right now. Percentage-wise, are you giving yourself a 98, 90, 85, 100?
That is a very, very challenging thing. I haven't really thought about things that way. But for me, the fact that we were ranked 7th highest in Africa, was the climax of everything. You know, it was what it showed me was the fact that the world was paying attention to what has happened in Lagos. The world could see that many more lecturers at Lagos had PhD. The world could see that Lagos lecturers were publishing in good journals. The world could see that Lagos laboratories were getting better. The world could see that the buildings at Lagos were looking better, that the roads were looking better, that the students were doing better. You know, it wasn't a matter of how many first classes you got. It was a matter of what can your students do when they leave. By the time I was leaving office, I was very happy that many employers would tell me, hey, what has happened? These days your people are improving. You know, it is those kinds of things that I use to assess whether we did well or not so well. You know, so I can tell you, maybe on the infrastructure front, we did about 98%. On the governance, we did 80%, and so on. But that is not really the most important.
That's not the real value of it.
I'm happy that when I came as Vice Chancellor, we didn't have a policy on financial regulations. We had a policy document that told everybody exactly how you manage university resources. We didn't have a policy on HR. By the time I was leaving, we had developed a policy on HR. One area that I always wanted a policy on, but we never got, we put in place a system for doing it, was health and safety. You know, how to protect the environment, how to protect our students, how to protect our faculty. I hope that one day Lagos will be able to develop a policy on health and safety for the campus.
I mean, maybe if that had been done, the University of Ghana would have been in a better position to stand against a pandemic like COVID-19. Just maybe.
Precisely. No, I mean, it should have, you know, it should have. But I don't think we've seen the worst at Lagos in terms of the pandemic, but it's always important that we prepare for the future.
You are known to have utilized the potentials of a lot of young, academics and scholars in your change agenda in Lagos. You mentioned that a few minutes ago. How best, in your opinion, or how best do you work with young people, and what's the greatest assets that young people of today must harness when it comes to success?
Like I said, when I see young people that have either been taught by me or by my colleagues and so on, who appear to be doing very well, I get a lot of satisfaction from it. I've had no difficulty whatsoever working with young people. Okay. I mean, my whole work has been about, so long as you are a teacher, that's what you do. So I don't have any problem with that. When I was teaching directly, I used to tell my students that there's no shortcut to success. You may get lucky from time to time and then be bumped to a higher level, but there's really no shortcut. And so I would like young people of today to understand that success is important, but success is not simply the result of being lucky. When you get lucky, I always say a door can be opened for you. A door can be opened for you, and it's our job to open doors for young people. But nobody can push you through the door if you don't want to walk through that door. So it's important when doors are open for you, you are ready to walk through those doors. And once you walk through, those on the other side will be able to receive you and help you even more. So that's the biggest lesson that I can I can give to young people. Take advantage of whatever you get. There's nothing wrong with that. Make good use of it. You never know when it will come back, or it may never come back.
All right. These next set of questions are coming from our listeners. Guys, if you're locked in and you have a question for Professor Aryeetey, he's right here with us. Hashtag Why Leaderboard Series or 0202222073. Get yours in. Messaging here from Eko Kwanzi. Hashtag, his handle is Why Always a Call, says, hello, Rev. Please ask Prof his opinion about the new university bill that the government wants to bring on board. Hashtag Why Leaderboard Series.
That's easy. Everybody knows my stand on it. It is a very, very, very bad bill. It's a very, very bad bill, and I've said that to the Ministry of Education. I've said that to Parliament, the Education Subcommittee of Parliament. It's a very bad bill. It's going to affect badly our universities. It's not clear to me or to many people what the bill is intended to achieve. But if it becomes law, the capacity of those who will run the universities will be strangely affected. I always say, and I told Parliament when I went there to be the committee, that the things I was able to do at Legon, I could not have done them if I was always looking over my shoulder to see what the Ministry of Education is going to do. It's a very bad thing and should not be encouraged. And I will encourage all Ghanaians to resist it. It will lead to the destruction of our universities over time.
Wow. Next question is coming in from Isaka Mumin inside Medina. It says, Prof, do you think Ghanaian universities can fully embrace e-learning systems like it's done outside Ghana?
They are on the way. I mean, many of our public universities had, before COVID-19, started distance education programs, which required, for some of them, the use of e-platforms for engaging with students and so on. So they had started. Nobody anticipated the need for us to go more intensely into these e-platforms for learning and teaching. So I hope that with this experience, that they will intensify the preparation. They will build the infrastructure for doing it. Lecturers will be taught how to use it. Students will be prepared how to use it.
Prof, you once said that university education is not for the poor. Earlier, when we talked about the infrastructural change, the changes that you implemented in Legon, you mentioned the fact that when you go outside Ghana, students pay for parking and all these things. I'm sure these factors might have been taken into consideration when you said that. Do you still stand by it?
It's one of the things that has always been taken out of context. I never said that university education was not for the poor.
Okay.
What I had always maintained is that you don't use poverty as an excuse for not building universities the way they should be built. So what it means in practice is that you invest what you have to invest to get a good university, and you find a way to support the poor to take advantage of it. But you don't precisely. But you don't let poverty say, "Oh, we don't have money." So Ghanaians like to say we don't have money,
so we won't do it.
So we won't do it. Do it and find a way to support them. We have used poverty for too long. I'm a massive believer that poverty needs to be dealt with, but poverty should not be the reason for not doing anything. I hope you understand me.
Wow.
So you provide. That's why there are scholarships. That's why you provide scholarships to poor people. You see, the fact that they are poor people does not mean that don't build your institutions properly. Use those institutions. Let me give you a good example of that. I went to Achimota School, and when I was there, the school had scholarships for people from all over Ghana.
Okay.
You hear us sing from Gambaga to Accra, from you also to Keta. What it means is that no matter where you come from in Ghana, Achimota School's doors are open to you. Achimota School's doors are open to you. And if money is the reason why you can't come, we can give you a scholarship. You see, we can give you a scholarship, but that shouldn't stop us from building up a good school. So we find money, we charge those who can afford it. And we used it, in those days, when we broke for the Christmas or for Easter and so on, the school provided transport for poor students to go home. So if they come from Tamale, if they come from Gambaga, the school will give you transport to go home. That's a way of assisting poor people to have education. You don't say that because Ghana is a poor country, there's no need for a good school.
So poverty should not be an excuse as to why you're not able to deliver standard education.
Should not be a barrier to transformation.
So you never said it was not for the poor. I mean, once you've mentioned this, let me just pick your mind on this. Recently, our government introduced the free senior high school education system. What do you make of it? Do you think it's a good policy?
Again, I've spoken extensively about it. Yes. The intention, as government has announced, is to provide access to all Ghanaians. My argument has always been that the access problem has, to a very large extent, been tackled. If you look at the enrollment rates of schools and so on, we've seen significant improvement in the last 2 decades. The biggest problem of our schools is quality.
Okay.
So let us deal with the quality issues also. Now, if there are access problems, it is not for everybody. There are Ghanaians who can pay for their high school education, so let them pay. And if you're so minded, deal with those who cannot.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Instead of spending a lot to cater for everybody.
Precisely. So there's no point in taking the son of an MP in Accra, the son of an MP in Accra, who decides to go to Achimota School, where there's a swimming pool, where there's a big assembly hall, where there's a big chapel that needs to be maintained, where there's a new science lab that needs to be maintained, and the government doesn't have money for maintaining these, or does not provide money for maintaining, and they say go there for free.
For free.
It doesn't make any sense to me, and it will never make any sense to me. But there are poor kids in schools in Navrongo, poor kids in Jirapa who need, yes. So if you want to give free education,
give to them.
Give it to them. So if you're a Ghanaian and you're an MP, or you are a Supreme Court judge, or you are a professor, and you send your kids to Presec or to Accra Academy or to Accra Girls for free, it is unfair to the system.
if you can pay.
If you can't pay.
The ones that cannot pay.
And they never said they didn't want to pay.
That's true.
You've taken your kid to Achimota school. You were ready to pay.
Yeah.
And they go, no, don't pay anything. I'll pay for you.
Well, I get it now. I think it makes clear sense now. What are some of your personal values as a leader? What has been the best advice you've received so far that you still use till date?
There are a number of people who have influenced the way I think. The most important, my father. My father was somebody who believed very strongly, fighting about hard work. So I learned from him how to work hard. As I grew up and I watched other people, whether at the university or in schools and so on, the thing that occurred to me always was the emphasis on hard work. My father would say hard work doesn't kill anybody. I haven't seen anybody die because he was working too hard, So you learn that. It has been my philosophy over the years. I don't run away from things because it's too difficult. If it's difficult, you find a way. Until it becomes impossible to do. Then I believe in the truth. I believe strongly about being honest about the things that you do. If I can't do it, I tell you I can't do it. I won't tell you I can do it.
Yes.
When at the back of my mind, I'm not going to do it. You ask me to lend you money. I don't want to lend you the money because I don't think you can pay or you will pay. And I say, we'll go and come tomorrow. And I'll tell you that you will do that.
Right there, you tell the person I can't. That's a good one. Who or what motivates you in life?
God has always been my defender. Whenever I have my back to the wall, it's God I look to. There are many individuals who have encouraged me along the way. Friends, mentors, and so on. I've learned a lot from watching older people.
Yes.
I've learned a lot, even from young people. Just watching young people and listening to them. Sometimes you debate with them, and at the end of the debate, you learn one or two things.
Yes.
Which you. So it's very difficult to say. But as I've gone around the world, as I've worked with many different people, I've learned a lot from almost everybody that I've worked with.
Final words to everyone out there. Something from the deep corners of Professor Aryeetey's heart to the youth of the nation, to the old ones, to everyone listening pretty much. What final advice would you give to all of us when it comes to leadership, success, being special people in our various sectors, standing out, as you said?
Yesterday, I saw a video that had gone viral. I don't know if you saw it. It was from a Nigerian police officer who had been in a traffic situation where it was red and someone was honking behind him to move on. I don't know if you saw it.
No, I haven't seen it.
And he explained that the reason why he refused to move, despite the obvious inconvenience he was causing to traffic behind him, was the values about basic things like being true to yourself, being true to God, and respecting the law. I think one of the challenges we have in this country, as a result of the poor institutions that we've built, is we don't even respect our own laws and our own policies and so on. So we make a law. We make a law that says that when you get to the traffic lights and it's red, stop. And yet, many people in Ghana believe it applies to somebody else, not to them. You see, I want to see young people begin to think about how do we comply with the laws of our land? How do we avoid shortcuts? How do we develop values that represent what we want for ourselves and for our children? How do we develop those values that tell us that cheating a neighbor is not a good thing? knowing the difference between right and wrong is very important. So these are the things that I want young people to cultivate. That there's a big difference between right and wrong. That no matter how long it takes you to justify a wrong action, 20 years later, you will still find it is a wrong action. When I was the vice chancellor, I used to tell students who like to cheat in examinations that, that was after we brought the CCTV cameras. So we started catching them left and right. And I would say to them, even if we don't catch you, long after you have left here and you are sitting in some office, the ministries, enjoying the position, your mind will always go back to the exam you cheated in. And you be a miserable person throughout your life. You see? So if you don't want to be miserable throughout your life, don't cheat now. Don't take any shortcuts.
Wow, wrong is wrong. Thank you so much. The CCTV camera thing. I remember one day we just woke up. We went to, I think it was, no, it wasn't JQB. And then we were there, we see cameras. What is happening here? So, there's a new system. Now, we're not going to shout at you guys. The cameras will find you guys when you go wrong. Prof, thank you so much for coming through. One thing I want us to, wrap up with. I think earlier when I mentioned Shatawale, he said we'll keep his conversation for later. You grew up in Kolegono.
Yes.
Did you know Shatawale?
No, he wasn't born then.
I mean, did you see him grow?
No, I don't remember. I only found out quite recently that Shatta was a Kolegono boy.
Okay.
Yes, even though I don't really like this music, the rhythm, so being a Kolegono boy like me makes me more interested in what he's doing. Yes.
So you connect to him, you relate.
I haven't met him before.
You haven't met him before. Maybe we can arrange that for you.
I'd be very happy.
What is your favorite song? Let me take your top 3 favorite songs in Ghana.
I know my level.
You know your level?
Yeah, you see. By the way I've been talking, you can see that I know my level.
Yeah, you definitely know your level. Wow, thank you so much, Prof. God bless you so much. You've been an inspiration to all of us.
All right.
Thank you guys, listen, Prof is not easy to come by. And, having been the first interview after his new appointment, we are so grateful. Thank you so much to your family members for allowing us, take you from them for a day. We love you so much. God bless you. On behalf of YFM Global Media Alliance, ETV, Y Leaderboard Series, I want to say thank you. And on behalf of the youth of Ghana, I want to say thank you for being who you are. And let me borrow the words of Auntie Ellen, keep fighting for the good cause. The journey is long, but we'll definitely get there.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
So that is our Prof's favorite song, My Level by Shatawale, right here. Y Leaderboard Series.
Maybe today I don't get nothing, but tomorrow I go.
Congratulations, you found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music.
I like to come up with a song on the radio. YFM.